Good morning, everybody. And welcome back to we're not in the urban kitchen per se, but we're still in the urban kitchen. I'm Chef Max, and happy Black History Month. Today is the first day, so let's do it up this month and represent. And let's hop into it. So today, we're going to celebrate happy Black History Month, but we also, in lieu of Valentine's Day, we're going to be making a vegetable heart-shaped lasagna. I'm just gloving up real quick because I want to wipe down the surface. So I have a lot of things that we're going to be using today, but always safety first. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe down the surface really fast so you guys can see me. Let me see if I can move this a little closer. Is that better, guys? Okay. All right. So today we're going to be making vegetable lasagna, like I said. I tried to do a meatless Monday yesterday, but it didn't work out. So I'm like, let's try it today. So even though it's just going to be vegetables, it's going to be very flavorful. It's almost like a ratatouille is what we're making. I know you guys have probably seen that movie if you have kids or grandkids, or even yourself. It's a really good movie. I remember when I was in culinary school, I had to take Spanish class, and I had to translate that movie from Spanish to English for my final. So one of those movies that I really like, even though it wasn't talking and eating mouse. Okay. So anyway, let's go through our ingredients for today. I got some water boiling in the back, just so we don't waste any time. And I have my oven set to 350. So if you're going to be following along on our pre-tape video, go ahead and set your oven and go ahead and get you about a 4-quart pot of water going on your stove so we can get that up to a boil. All right, so we're going to be using any can of marinara sauce. This is Private Select. This is about $1.49 at Vons. You can use any brand, Prego, Ragu, Classico, whatever you have in the cabinet. If you don't have any, you just have some stewed tomatoes, that'll also work. We're going to be using ricotta cheese. Okay, you can get this in low fat, but I would recommend, if you want a little bit more bubbles in that cheese, that you go for the whole milk. Okay, we're going to be using a blend of shredded cheese, of provolone, Asiago, Romano, and Parmesan. And also some mozzarella, right? So we just want to substitute because we're not going to be having any meat in here, but we definitely want to still have a protein. So this is going to serve as our protein in this dish today, okay? We're also going to be using an array of fresh vegetables. Oh, I actually have some mushrooms too. I'm going to add to here 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. So I have some fresh cremini mushrooms. You can use white or portobello, whatever you have, or if you don't want to add mushrooms, that's fine. I have some Brussels sprouts here that they're already in half, but they're really, really big chunks. So I'm going to probably quarter these off or maybe half them some more. I have some fresh basil. You can substitute for dry basil or just Italian seasoning if you don't have any. We also are going to be using some roasted garlic paste. You can substitute for fresh garlic if you don't have this. And we're going to be using half an onion. I already have half today. And we're going to be using yellow squash, zucchini, and some baby spinach. All right. Seasoning that we're going to be using. I have some Italian seasoning that I just bought. Going to get that. And then I have some Himalayan sea salt. You can substitute with no salt if you're watching out for your blood pressure or accent. That's something that adds flavor to food, but it's not really salt. I also have some fresh ground black pepper and some garlic salt, just a little bit. You can also substitute for garlic powder. I ran out, so I'll be mindful with my salt intake and what I'm adding to my dish, okay? I'm gonna be using some lasagna noodles. You can also substitute for whole wheat noodles. I think it's a really great substitute. I just didn't have any on hand. So let's get into it. All right. So my water's almost to a boil. I want to make sure it is because we're going to take those noodles out and they're going to be ready for us to kind of build our lasagna. Okay. So we're going to be building about 2 different mixtures today. One is going to be our sauce, and the other one is going to be our ricotta cheese. Okay. So we're going to move this real quick. Okay. Got another bowl. Hi, being at home. Can you guys see me? Let me turn the camera a little bit this way. So you guys can see all of the things. Okay. All righty, dighty. So let's get into this. We got a couple vegetables that we got to chop up. I'm going to go ahead and glove up. You know, I've been protecting my hands lately because it's the winter time. I already have really dry skin and eczema. So when I'm dealing with, you know, moisture or I'm in the kitchen, I really like to use my gloves now just to kind of retain my hands from getting so dry. So you have to excuse me today. If you guys are following along, equipment that you're going to be needing is a skillet because we're going to be sauteing our vegetables. Another way that you can cook these vegetables will be roasting them in the oven. But I just feel like saving this time because it's going to be going into the oven. We're just going to bypass that and just give them a quick saute just so they're already starting the cooking process and then they'll finish while they're in the lasagna, okay? You're going to be needing a small sauce pot. I have one, I will get it. And that's gonna be for your marinara sauce. You do wanna bring that up to heat. Oh, actually, we can add that directly into our skillet with our vegetables because it's gonna be combined into this pan. Okay, so since my mushrooms are already sliced, I'm gonna leave those to the side and then I'm just gonna start off with my veggies, okay? Oh, I also have a strainer here that you're gonna be needing to strain out your noodles, okay? Make sure you salt your water if you're following along. So I've already pre-rinsed all my vegetables. I'm gonna go ahead and start with my zucchini, take off the end, and we are going to make sure that we cut all these vegetables perpendicular. So I feel like I wanna make these, a medium dice. I would say half moon, but I feel like it's not going to be perpendicular to all the other vegetables. So let's go ahead and do like a medium dice. So I'm going to give about 3 slices to each veg of my zucchini. I'm going to do the same thing with my yellow squash. Well, do not roll off the board, I repeat. All right. Cut this one into 3. And then we're going to stack these. Sorry about that. We're gonna stack these and cut them into medium-sized cubes. I will show you. All right, so this is what I mean. Kind of like a python. Okay, nice cube, nice thickness to it, all right? So as I cut these, I'm just gonna put them into the corner. I'm gonna go ahead and take a little break and go ahead and add my lasagna into my water because it's boiled. I can smell it. Okay, it's ready to go. Take my salt with me. Sometimes I'll cover up my pot just to kind of speed up that cooking process. I'll go ahead and salt my water. See, and since this is a small pan, I'm gonna add about let's say about 8 to 9 strips of lasagna because we're gonna probably cut these in half and then we'll be able to fit the pattern that we want. Okay, I'm probably gonna do about 2 layers. All right, so let that cook to about maybe 7 to 8 minutes, and we're gonna just finish cutting up our vegetables while we wait for that to cook. So, I really love Black History Month. It's one of my favorite months of the year. I love to wear like all of my t-shirts that I get from Black brands. I'll be wearing some throughout the month so you guys can see and talk about some of the brands that I'm wearing and I like to support. Urban Comfort Foods down in South LA. That's Janelle and our company. But I do have a lot of friends that have great brands. If you guys are ever online or on Instagram, check out Confidence Light Crew, A Life Well Dressed. I will send over this information. If you guys want to check out these Black brands, Evelyn G. My business partner Janelle also has another company called Plethora LA, where she gets all of her ideas down on a t-shirt, and they're pretty dope. She has some Black History t-shirts that she just released this weekend. So if you guys are ever interested, go ahead and check her out. I know some of you guys have her contact. Miss Emily, put it on here. Some other Felicia. You guys may have Janelle's information. She has some really awesome shirts right now that she's selling. So just, yeah, if you guys have any brands that you want to share with me, I'm always open. Okay, so I'm gonna start. I finished up the zucchini. You just make sure I give my noodles a nice stir. We don't want them to stick together, just like cooking spaghetti. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and work on these Brussels sprouts. Now, Brussels sprouts are not like, everybody's not a fan. You say it like that. However, if you cook them right, you season them up right, it's a really great vegetable. I really didn't start eating them until I was an adult, I'm not gonna lie. But I have been enjoying them ever since. I do this dish where I make like buffalo style, like buffalo hot wing style Brussels, but obviously vegan. And then we put blue cheese crumbles on top and scallions. It's like amazing. Sorry, my cabinet's doing. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of cut these down a little bit into quarters, just so they're a little bit more perpendicular to our squash and our zucchini. Just so that it's an even cut.
The camera is off.
Sorry about that. You know, my phone does things, guys. I did put it on Do Not Disturb, but it's still disturbing me. I have no idea why. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. So I'm just going to continue with the Brussels. Another good way to cook Brussels sprouts, you guys, if you're a fan of bacon or pancetta, it has really good flavor and it just tastes, you know, because Brussels have like a sweet taste, almost like a licorice, but not really. I don't want you to think that licorice, but to me, it almost has like that essence of black licorice, but it's really, really good, especially if you render off some bacon fat, reserve that, and then you add some garlic, some shallots, and some really good seasoning. I can recommend some to you guys, and a little bit of brown sugar and red pepper flakes. We'll actually make that with some roasted chicken. I think that'd be good. Anyway, I just was, you know, trying to give a little back history on the Brussels. So I feel like that's enough Brussels because, you know, we're only dealing with a little heart here. So we don't want to overcrowd our pan, and that's some other stuff that's going to be going in there. So with the spinach, you don't really have to do that much with. If you do prefer a shred on your spinach, you're more than welcome to do so. But I wouldn't recommend, because it's already baby spinach. So we're just going to add about 8 ounces, which is 1 cup full, to our mixture to go in. And then we're going to do the same with our mushrooms. And then I'm gonna go ahead and give a nice small dice on our onion because it's a little bit more powerful taste than the zucchini. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that rondelle like a dice, like we're doing almost every week. And 1 second. I'm gonna open up my doors a little step. All right, guys, sorry about that. I had the steam in here, just a little stuffy. All right, so we continue with my onion. And if you have a red onion, you can definitely use that if you're looking for more color. All right. So I did about a quarter of that half. Not so much. We just want to add some flavor. And like I said, we're going to use about a cup of the mushroom. Now the mushrooms are really big, so I think we're gonna go ahead and kind of dice these down to a small dice. So I'm just gonna start by rough chopping them like this. And at this point, if you are using fresh garlic, you will want to go ahead and mince that down. But we're going to use some of the paste today. And if you want to add a little heat to this, you can add some red pepper flakes. I think I'll do so when I start sauteing off the vegetables, just to give it a little kick. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and check on my noodles. They're burning. Okay. So with lasagna noodles, you kind of want to make sure that they're getting translucent in the middle. That's kind of how you know they're finished. They're very thick in comparison to your spaghetti or angel hair. So when it's translucent, that's how you know that it's al dente and done. So these are finished. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these and just use my strainer. And they also have no bake lasagna. So if you guys want to skip a step, you can purchase those at your local grocery store. I'm gonna be completely honest. I've never used them before, but I heard that they work just the same. It just kind of takes a step away. All right. So I'm gonna chop these with some cold water and just let them sit over to the side for a minute. I'm gonna make sure we don't have any of them sticking together, so I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. All right. So add a little bit of olive oil, make sure they don't stick together. All right. Now, we are going to work on our cheese mixture while our vegetables are sauteing. So if you have your saute pan, I'm using a pretty large one. This is about a 12-inch, just because we're gonna do our vegetables and then we're gonna go ahead and add our marinara sauce directly to this. Let me get this on medium heat and add some extra virgin olive oil. Just enough to make sure we're not gonna have our vegetables sticking to the pan, right? All right, I had to grab my Italian seasoning. I just bought some. All right, so this, I make a lot of spaghetti here. My son, he's 3. He loves spaghetti. It's his thing, so I use this a lot. But I have this other seasoning at the kitchen that I really like. I get from Sam's Club, but it's the Tones brand, and it's called spaghetti seasoning, and it has like the dry onion, Italian seasoning. It has a little bit of red pepper flakes. It has, onion powder. It's a really good mixture. So I'll show you guys that next time we do something with Italian. Okay, so I am bringing up my saute pan. And we want to season our vegetables, so we're gonna go ahead and use our handy dandy vegetable seasoning that I always use. So once we add that to the pan, we're gonna make sure we season it very well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my vegetable mixture into my saute pan. Alrighty, so that's all in. Now we're gonna season them heavily. This is a no salt seasoning, so you can be a little heavy handed on this because you want this to be seasoned well. Like I said, this is no protein, so you wanna act like this is your chicken. So you wanna make sure you season this very well, okay? Once again, this is no salt, which means no guilt. I'm also gonna give this some sea salt over here. A couple of kinds of this sea salt. Wanna make sure it's seasoned. Gonna add some of our whole black pepper or your black pepper. Oh. Right. A little bit of our garlic powder or garlic salt, just gonna give it a little shake. And we're gonna reserve our roasted garlic and our Italian pepper, our Italian seasoning until we go ahead and we add in our marinara. So we're gonna let our vegetables cook down, especially our mushrooms. We need to saute all the way through. I'm going to add, it was in my head. I think that was it. All right. So as that's sauteing, we're gonna go ahead and get us a bowl, medium bowl, or smaller. I don't even need all this space. And we're gonna reserve this aside for a second because we need to go ahead and mince down our fresh basil. The fresh basil is very important, especially when you're doing lasagna because it gives it that Italian feel, right? Especially if we're not using any of our protein, right? Because most time your classic lasagna is done with ground beef and ground pork, okay? So it's almost like the meatball and the meatloaf type of form. I do mine with ground turkey. We're probably gonna have that tonight with my kids because they're not gonna do the vegetable thing like that. So I have me about 2 ounces of fresh basil. Like I said, you can definitely substitute for dry basil. Just gonna give my vegetables a nice spin. We don't wanna overcook the vegetables because we already know that we're gonna be adding them into our lasagna and baking that in the oven at 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes. Let me do that. I'm actually gonna put my oven on some veg. Okay. All right. Woo-hoo. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and shipping off this. Okay, we're gonna grab them down and we're gonna just roll them like and cut them in ribbon strips. Okay. All right, so now that our vegetables are halfway done, we're gonna go ahead and add in our marinara sauce right into the pot. All right, want to make sure you're coating all your vegetables with the marinara sauce. And now we want to season this. So every time you add something to your dish, you want to make sure that you're seasoning, all right? So we're gonna add in our Italian seasoning. We want to bring this down to medium heat. Mix this in very well. I shot myself. You know, I always get myself, guys. If I was in the kitchen, I have on an apron. I'm happy here. All right. It's all good. It's all good. So we're gonna let that simmer down. And then we're gonna go ahead and add in I'm gonna go ahead and add all of this because I'm gonna make some later. So this is about 15 ounces, almost 2 cups of ricotta cheese, whole, directly in. I'm gonna add in my fresh basil. We're gonna still season this with Italian seasoning. I'm gonna add some salt, some pepper, a little bit of garlic. And then we are going to add in about 4 ounces of our 4 cheese blend, excuse me. We're gonna reserve the mozzarella for on top, all right? I'm gonna add in 1 tablespoon of our roasted garlic mix. And if you have fresh garlic, you will add in 1 tablespoon of that, mixed down. Right? And then you wanna check on your mixture. We don't want to reduce our pasta sauce. Right? I'm gonna turn this off. And then I'm gonna get me a flat spatula so that I can mix our ricotta cheese mixture, right? So you wanna make sure you incorporate all of the seasoning and your basil so we can build in our lasagna. Okay. Okay. So at this point, you want to definitely make sure you spray your pan with some non-stick spray. Our pasta noodles so that we can start building. Just to the side. All right. You guys can see me. I'm gonna spray my pan. You don't want this to thick, and this is not very thick. It's very whitish. Okay, so our first layer is definitely going to be of our mixture, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and bring this over here on my little stand. See. You guys can see that. I don't want to burn myself, but I'm going to add, I'm gonna have some leftovers, it's good. You know, you can always freeze your leftovers. So if you make too much mixture or something, go ahead and freeze that. You're able to have another meal later on. You know, we're all about saving our time and cutting back because we have a lot of things to do as humans. You know, I'm definitely one of those humans. That's a lot of things. So I've added our first layer of our vegetable mixture. You can see that. Now I'm going to go ahead and get our mixture and add a thin layer of that on top. Now, your mixture may be thick, so you want to kind of work it out with your flat spatula so that you're spreading it across the lasagna, okay? Okay, you want to make sure you give it a generous amount because you want this to cook and spread throughout. So my oven is already preheated. Just gonna make sure I get enough on this side. You know, I don't like when I have lasagna and it's not like, you know, I want the ricotta cheese, you know. So I want to make sure that that's spread throughout the mixture. Okay, we're gonna also add a thin layer. That was kind of hot. Got myself good. I'm gonna cut this open. Of our mozzarella cheese so that this all binds together. You don't want to put too much because we're gonna do another layer. You want to make sure you're spreading it around. Now we're going to use some good math skills so that we can measure where we need to possibly cut. Let me move this a little bit so you guys can see. when we need to cut our lasagna, okay? So it's hanging over a little bit. Want to make sure I cut that part off, so it's nice and neat. So I'm gonna lay that there and get it as close to the edge as possible. And then I'm gonna repeat this process until I cover the top layer, okay? Of the lasagna. So because it's a hard, they're getting shorter as I go across. I might be able to use these two to fill in. Okay, so that's our first layer. Now we are going to get another layer of our vegetable mixture and repeat that process. This pan is not that deep, so we're only gonna do about 2 layers. Okay. We did like perfect amount of veggies. And this is a very inexpensive meal. You can probably do this for like under 12 bucks and feed 4 people easily. $3 a person. Promise. Right? So you want to use your spoon and pack it down. So we'll be able to get us a nice bubbly cheesy crust on top. We gotta save some space. Right? So we're gonna repeat the process with the ricotta mixture. And I'm gonna spread it out. Right. Like so, like that. Just make sure it's nice and it's even. I was looking for my cheese guys. All right. And we're gonna put the cheese on top. This is our last layer. I'm gonna end it with a little bit more lasagna noodles. So this is gonna be packed pretty tight. But we need the lasagna noodles. It's gonna give us, it's gonna make it more filling for us. Okay. We're just gonna repeat the process, measuring. This one can fit there. No noodle goes to waste. So, cut this one a little shorter. Let's see. Trying to move this way so you guys can see. All right. Now our last layer, if we can get it on top, we just want to give it a little sauce on top. Yum. Okay. Because you don't want the noodles to be dry. So wherever there's a noodle, you want to make sure you put some type of sauce on that so that you're able to make sure it doesn't, overcook and crack and dry. All right. So that's perfect. And now we're going to finish it off with the remainder of our mozzarella cheese. Okay. So this is a 8-ounce bag. It's literally just 1 cup of cheese in here, guys. So I'm just you know, using it sparingly, but it's definitely enough. And if you like to add some of the 4-cheese blend to it, you can add a little bit of that on top as well. You definitely want to make sure you are covering all of the noodles and all of the sauce, all right? All right. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it a nice sprinkle of Italian seasoning. And this is gonna go into the oven at 375 for about 30 minutes. All right, so guys, I wasn't able to make one prior, but it's gonna bake for about 30 minutes. You wanna make sure you cook it until the top is brown and bubbly. And then you wanna pull it and make sure it sets for a minute. If you're gonna be using this for the next day, sometimes I recommend letting it cool down all the way and then pre-cutting it and then, you know, plating it before you re-warm it up because the cheese tends to, you know, has a tendency to spread. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. It's gonna cook for a while and you guys will be receiving this meal tomorrow. You guys have a blessed Tuesday. And once again, happy Black History